My name is Shelby Davis, and I'm going to be talking about the public health issue of vaccinations. Vaccinations have been a very controversial topic around public health, but the decision of whether or not to vaccinate is one that affects yourself and everyone that you come into contact with.
What do you do for a living?
I am a licensed practical nurse and I presently work in a pediatric office. So it is their body. They need to think about other people who are not able to become vaccinated with an illness such as cancer or leukemia, and they are at risk for that disease, but yet other by not being vaccinated.
So, where did this all begin? Currently, 10% of children in the United States are not being vaccinated for required immunizations. A percentage this high could affect our population severely, and it could result in the resurgence of diseases that have previously been eradicated by immunizations.
What is your name and where do you work at?
My name is Sarah Hunter and I work at the University of Kansas Health System Emergency Department. I was reading an article the other day about a little girl who was in remission because she beat leukemia, and then we've seen a comeback in the measles, and then she died from the measles.
In 1879, the Anti-Vaccination Society of America was founded. After this, court battles to repeal vaccination laws began in several states, and in 1905, the first criminal case of neglecting to vaccinate a man was charged with criminal negligence. The controversy of whether or not vaccinations were safe for children struck in the mid-1970s. The Association of Parents of Vaccine-Damaged Children began to speak out against the MMR and DPT vaccination and their links to autism due to thimerosal, a type of mercury in child vaccinations.
Do not believe in vaccines. We'll talk about what it's done to children, and they just need to be actually educated better by what has happened. We have gotten rid of polio because of vaccines. You do not see much of diphtheria. Pertussis has come back, but we are immunizing more people, parents with new babies. So it's just more of an educational thing that needs to be kept strong and presented to people.
But I do think the biggest part would be education on the parents' part, for them not being fully aware of what vaccinations are, and the big scare a few years ago of vaccinations being linked to autism, which all of those research phenomenons were all discredited, and vaccinations aren't linked to autism, so that.
Today, the use of thimerosal and other toxins has been eradicated from all childhood vaccines. Therefore, we ask the question, is it ethical to vaccinate or to mandate vaccinations? Required immunizations are responsible for the eradication of many diseases, such as smallpox, polio, and measles.
Okay. How do you feel about vaccinations?
I feel very strongly about vaccinations because with vaccinations, diseases can be eliminated.
So do you feel that vaccinations should be mandated?
I do.
In an effort to protect the greater public and the greatest amount of people possible, mandated vaccinations may infringe upon people's civil liberties.
I do believe if we were to mandate vaccinations completely, that it would infringe on people's rights and their individual liberties, but I don't believe that it is someone's right to take away someone else's life because they neglect to vaccinate their child.
Say about people who think that vaccinations being mandated infringes upon their individual rights, their own rights to make their own choice, or parents who think that they're making the best decision for their kids, and those people who say that they've gone on the internet and found research that they consider to be valid about the warning signs or the negative aspects of vaccinations.
It's hard because within our office, if you do not vaccinate, we do not see you.
Okay.
Because we have other patients, as I mentioned before, who aren't able to get the vaccines, and they're being exposed to people who can be, and telling them it's their body. Okay, yes it is, but yet you are exposing others to unprotection of not getting the vaccine.
All 50 states allow vaccination exemptions for medical reasons and for personal beliefs. 48 states allow exemptions for religion, and 20 states allow exemption for political or philosophical reasons.
I do understand allergies and religious exemptions and other things of that such.
So how do we know if a vaccination is safe and who we can include in these trials? Is it ethical or safe to include children in vaccination trials, people with compromised immune systems? How do we know that this vaccination is going to be safe for them?
For vaccination trials, obviously we want to make sure that vaccines are safe for children and people with compromised immune systems, but is it ethical to include those people in vaccination trials? What do we do about people who can't get vaccinated, don't know if a vaccination is safe or not for them because they can't be included in the trials?
The good thing about clinical research is, for the most part, that there is willing patients who do sign up for the greater good and for the good of themselves, for the hope and the chance that they can have to advance medical practice.
The issue of mandated vaccinations is so complicated because many people believe that it is their body, so it is their choice whether or not to vaccinate, or if they are a parent, it is their choice whether to make that best decision for their child. A lot of people have a distrust in the scientific evidence that comes with vaccinations, and many people believe that your body will heal itself naturally, and that getting a vaccination and introducing a foreign substance into your body will overload the immune system, if you will.
Say that education's the main way that we could go about solving the problem. So besides educating the public, do you think maybe it'd be a good idea to have as part of the health curriculum in schools to teach about vaccinations, or do you think it's solely the parents that we should reach out to talk more about vaccinations and the benefits of them?
I think probably the older children, younger children, that would be hard for them to understand, but just even educating the young people with the HPV vaccine, and then they can talk to their parent, why are you not letting me have this? I have a future. Why, should you not let me get this vaccine when it could protect me against getting something?
Yeah.
There are many people who have opinions on how we can go about fixing this problem. A lot of the stakeholders and people in the medical field are saying that we need to narrow down vaccination exemptions and not make the exemptions so broad. A lot of people are also saying that we should prohibit children who do not get the vaccination from schools until they agree to get the vaccination. And a lot of people also agree that we should allow lawsuits against parents who neglect to vaccinate their child knowingly, and who knowingly send them to school and put other kids at risk for getting sick.
How do you feel we could maybe solve the issue of people not wanting to vaccinate just because they want to do an all-natural approach? People who can vaccinate but choose not to. How do you think we could reach out to them and kind of help solve this issue?
I do feel like not vaccinating right now is more of a fad
you can see, there are many benefits to vaccinations, but there also are reasons why parents and people who have a distrust in medical science or any sort of religious belief would fail to vaccinate or exempt from getting a vaccination. Now that you have all the information about the pros and cons of vaccinations and the history of the anti-vaccination movement, you can make an informed decision for yourself on whether or not to vaccinate.